We've had a break in the weather, so I thought I'd give you guys a quick update on the bog garden. You can see that some of the pitchers have gotten absolutely massive and done really well. I'm especially tickled by my purpurea, that little dude there, as well as this one, which is a protected species. So that's super exciting. My Venus flytraps are doing awesome, and I have a ton of little... Oh look, there's a new flytrap. Where'd it go? There's a new fly trap in there, and I have a ton of like teeny tiny baby, super ickle cute little sundews that have volunteered. They're all over the garden. It's really exciting. I also added a few new species, this one being particularly spectacular. This one looking a little less happy, but I'm hopeful because it has some new leaves coming out. But all in all, this bog garden this year has been a pretty good success. I've been very pleased with how the plants that did well have done, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next year. I will be doing a video on how I prep this for overwintering and how it goes, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's head into the greenhouse and collect some fish. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and we're back out in the greenhouse today to continue collecting critters. Now, I think it's important to mention that it's not really necessary for me to move fish in yet. It's probably going to stay warm enough out here for at least another month, but what I want to do is move in enough to make sure that I preserve enough space in the fish room for when I have to move them in. I only have a set number of tanks to keep livestock down in the fish room, and I need to make sure there's enough space before I start ordering to fill out my stock list. If you guys remember correctly, in one of these lower bins, I moved out Oryzias woworae, or the Daisy's ricefish, and they were actually breeding inside, so I knew they were going to do well out here, but nothing could have prepared me for the amount of fish I'm getting. I'm pretty excited to pull the plants today and start harvesting them to move inside to finish their grow out and then to offer for sale later in the year. I think you guys are going to be pretty stoked, and they are just a beautiful, beautiful fish that are super well suited for a planted tank. Now, I can put a link to their species spotlight in the card so that you guys, if you want to learn more about them, can take a look at that. But for now, let's go down into that bin and collect some fish. Apparently, I missed a bunch of shrimp yesterday, so that's actually not a bad thing. It'll mean that these guys will continue to breed as the season allows. I just really wanted to make sure that I gave up space for them in the fish room to make sure that there was going to be dedicated tanks, especially for shrimp. There's a really bright red one there that I can't get to focus on. There it is. It's very exciting to see these guys doing so well. I can't get over the fact that I got over 300 of these cherry shrimp. And just peeking into this bin, I see another 20 or 30, which is incredible. So when I eventually pull these plants, I'll do a good vacuum on all of these bins and then collect the rest of the shrimp. But for today, I thought we'd come over to this bin. This is my Oryzias woworae bin, and I am expecting a bumper crop. These guys bred early, they bred prolifically, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So we're gonna work on collecting them today. I just did a quick scoop right at the surface in the front here. Let's see what we got. That is quite a few from one little scoop. As yesterday, I'm gonna pull out the hair algae. I think we probably got, oh gosh, about 20 or so in that scoop. We're just going to keep going and see what we can collect here. Now, I haven't even pulled any of the plants yet out of this bin. I'm really just scooping the surface. You can see they have that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lamp eye. Now most of these are still pretty tiny, but you can see even at this small size, like 1/4 of an inch, what great color they have from being outside, eating all the algae and getting the sunlight. Really gorgeous fish. Let's see if we can catch some bigger ones. I'm going to do this one a little differently. I'm going to pull all the plants and then let it settle so I can see to collect the fish, as they generally swim up near the surface, unlike shrimp, which are all over the bins. So we're just going to let this settle down for a bit and then see what we've got. You can see already I've collected quite a few fish. So what's interesting as I pull fish from this bin is that I'm not finding very many bigger fish, but when I pulled out the filter, I did find these suspicious eggs in the filter, which I think may belong to a beetle. And if that's the case, then it's possible that beetles are eating the larger fish and leaving the babies alone. So we'll have to see what we get out of this tub. And I don't think I'm going to be moving these plants back in, because a lot of the beetles will lay their eggs in the plants, which will hatch into predatory larvae, and then the beetles emerge from that. And I certainly don't want to keep perpetuating any beetles. In fact, I'll probably discard all the plants from this bin just to be on the safe side, as many of these eggs and larvae can overwinter to reemerge the following spring. So this is what I've collected so far, and I did not count them yet. I'll do that when we get them set up in their aquarium. But you can see how absolutely vivid their coloration is for very young fish. Now again, I think I might have a diving beetle problem in that tub, so it's good that I'm getting these guys out now before everything is lost. Last year I had that problem in a tub. But it seems like we've got, gosh, I don't know. I'll have to count when I unpack them, but I'm guessing around 100 or so at least of these guys, if not more. Now we're back down here in the fish room, and I have my yield here. I'm going to do it basically the same way as I did yesterday, and that's to add some of that tank water to one of those bigger Sterilite containers and then sift through the fry. This way I can get a count for my inventory, and I did not yet finish clearing the bin out there. I'm letting it settle, and then I'll come back and see what's left. But pretty darn happy. And I do have a tank of these already from the ones that were breeding inside, but I'm going to keep these guys separate just so I can monitor their growth and development for you guys. And now we're going to try and count all these Oryzias, or Daisy's rice fish. Now as these guys get bigger and bigger, this color only gets more and more gorgeous. Now one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, without losing count here, was just to remind you that next weekend I'll be at the Catfish Convention in Herndon, Virginia, 65. And it's a really, really great convention. On Friday in the afternoon, I'm going to be doing a live demo, setting up a Hillstream aquarium, and then that night, the entire third floor, people open up their rooms to sell all kinds of fish, and it's really a ton of fun. I believe the web address is catfishcon.com. I'll put a link down in the description. It's hard to count and talk. Now I think what I'm going to do is each day just work on breaking down a bin, at least preliminarily, to collect some fish and start sorting plants for what I want to keep and what I don't. Otherwise it's a really big job, and I know a lot of you are really eager for me to get back to work selling fish, and trust me, I am too. But the reality is I just can't I can't do the ladder all day long. I can't stand on the concrete all day long. And I can't carry the boxes out of the fish room like I need to be able to do to be back in action. So it's just going to take some time, but I am working on getting things updated and figuring out what I'm going to order to have in stock, and obviously moving stuff in from outside. 90. It's been a rough year for me, as you guys know. My husband is doing much better. We find out in a couple weeks if he's going to need a second surgery. My daughter's doing really well. Thank you all who have asked about how everyone's doing. 96. Last week my husband hit a deer and totaled his truck, so that's been making the schedule a little bit demanding, as I have to drive my daughter to diving at 5:30 a.m., then my husband to work, come home and get the last one off to school, and then start my day down here. 99. But, you know, things are getting back to, or establishing, a nice new normal. I think I'm about done with this daily stuff. We're at 105 fish. I've really enjoyed it, but I don't want to force content. 110 fish. And I have a couple events coming up. I am going to be at Aquatic Experience in New Jersey, New York area in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to be there to hang out. I'm not having a booth or participating in a booth or anything like that. But if you guys would like to chat, you can find me there. $115 fish. 118 fish. 119. 122. That's it. It looks like 126 fish. Not bad, really. I'm going to go ahead and put them into their aquarium and we'll take a look. You see, they seem to be settling in just fine. Hanging out a little low, but they were just moved in here. I think they are looking fantastic. Everywhere we look, there's just little rice fish. I mean, some of these guys are super teeny, and what that'll mean is I'll have to feed them pretty frequently. Look at all those blue eyes. Over the upcoming weeks to ensure their good growth, as well as doing pretty frequent water changes. Now, as I often do when I add a lot of fish into an aquarium at once, I'll add a piece of poly filter into this because it adsorbs and absorbs the ammonia. And it'll just work as sort of a first line of defense for me for any ammonia swings that could potentially happen. Now again, this is a fully cycled sponge filter, so I don't anticipate any issues, but I like to err on the side of caution, especially with young fish like these. Just seeing all these little blue eyes everywhere is so awesome, and I can't wait till these guys grow up. Maybe I'll do some sort of aquascape with them. Let me know below if that's something you'd like to see. As always, thanks for your continued support, and I can't wait to see what else we get out of the bins this year. Here you can see the blue shrimp that we brought in yesterday. This one's actually a blue Rilly. I might have to pull some of these blue body red Rillies for their own project. That's something I had worked on several years ago. Clearly, I still have some of the genetics. Look at that. Oh. Gorgeous. Look how bright blue. The cherry shrimp. You can see how absolutely just brick red they are. Gorgeous. very, very rewarding. And the yellows. Looking good. It's the blues. So blue they're almost black. Really nice shrimp. And then over here are some of the rainbows, white clouds, and rosy loaches that I brought in from one of the outdoor tubs, one of the ones in my yard. You can see the male rosy loaches still are fired up, even after being inside for a few weeks now. Now, over the past couple weeks, I have gradually transitioned these guys back into full tap. These are lemon white clouds. And then there's the rosy loaches with that lateral line. And then a bunch of rainbow fry. Very, very, very nice.